Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another one of my science/teaching videos. Today's video, I'm actually going to be taking some footage that I filmed back midway through lockdown. For those of you that don't know, I recorded videos for the children I teach every day while on lockdown, so that they had fun activities that they could have a go at each day, to sort of prevent them from being bored. It was educational, it was a bit of fun for them to do, and it was a good way for them to reconnect with me. Obviously, they didn't get to see me for 6 months. So today I am going to be taking you through a video that I filmed mid-lockdown, but it's a super good one, it's a super fun one, and it's all to do with making your own paints. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too much because I do actually introduce it in the video anyway. So enjoy the video guys, and I will catch you at the end. I'm going to teach you how to make some homemade paint, but not paint that you would normally paint or use for being creative on paper and on canvases and things like that, but paint that you can use in your bath. Yeah, you heard that right, paint that you can use in your bath. Now I can imagine at this point your parents are probably pulling their hair out thinking, Mr. Field, what crazy ideas are you giving our children? But don't you worry, this isn't going to ruin your bathrooms. You need a simple set of ingredients that you have in your house, or likely have in your houses, and it creates a paint-like liquid that you can use on your bath, and it will wash off, and it just makes bath time a little bit more fun. Now this paint is quite fun to create. I am going to talk a little bit about the ingredients that we're going to be using in a second. It can be super runny, or you can make it thicker, so you can almost use your finger to do finger painting, or if you've got a paintbrush, you can use a paintbrush as well. And like I say, the ingredients aren't going to damage your bathroom, and I'm going to go through them now. So the first ingredient you need is some corn flour or cornstarch. I'm going to talk a little bit about this in a minute, because this in itself can be lots of fun to play with. Then you're going to need some form of soap. I have just used a body wash, but you can use body wash, you can use hand soap, conditioner, anything that you've got sitting around the house you can use. You're going to need a very little amount of water, obviously depending on how much paint you're going to make, but a tiny bit of water. And then you guys are going to need some food colouring. I'm using blue, notably because that's pretty much all I've got in the flat. As you would have known from previous videos, I use blue quite a lot. But obviously if you want a collection of different coloured paints to paint, and just use different food colorings. So in your bowl, and I'm gonna, with these ingredients, you can add more or less of them depending on the consistency that your sort of paint comes out like. I'm gonna start off by adding 2 teaspoons, give or take, of my corn flour, to which I'm then gonna add just a little drop of my soap, my body wash. So I've got a little drop of body wash in there, and I've got some cornstarch or corn flour in there. I'm then going to add a tiny bit of water, literally a drop like so, probably no more than a teaspoon. And then I'm going to add my blue food colouring. Now obviously the more food colouring you add, the more vivid and bright this paint is going to turn out. But the more you add, obviously, the more corn flour you're going to need to balance it out. So I'm going to add that much. Now you can add more food colouring later. So if it's not very bright by the end of this part of your mix, then you can obviously add more later on. And essentially, what you want to do is you want to balance out your liquids with your corn flour. So I'm now going to give it a mix. Now, one thing that you'll notice with corn flour, and you guys may have done this before, when you apply lots of quick pressure to it, it goes solid, and when you apply less pressure to it, it goes liquid, or it maintains its liquid form. Okay, so once you've created your mixture, really it is up to you as to how thick you want your paint. Now to me, this is probably a little bit too thin. Alright, it's probably a little bit too thin, so I'm going to add a little bit more corn flour to this. Just like so. And then I'm going to mix this again. Perfect. Now like I say, if at this point you want this to be a really vivid shade of blue, then you can obviously add some more food colouring to it, but by doing so, you will obviously dilute this liquid a little bit more, so you'll need to add a bit more corn flour, but that is pretty much it. Now, corn flour is a really fun ingredient, and obviously in this case, we're using it as sort of a dry ingredient to help get the consistency for our paint, but you can use it by itself, you can add food colouring to it by itself and just a bit of water, and you can really play with it. Now, if I add more food colouring, so this is kind of like a double cream consistency at this point. If I add more corn flour to it, which I'm going to do now, you will see how funky corn flour really is. So this is something I used to do as a kid. If I add it, so I've added lots. So this is like gone past the texture of paint now. This is no longer a paint texture. This is way too thick. Okay, but if I'm probably going to need to add a tiny bit of water. I've added a little bit too much. There we go. That would probably be about right. That's a bit better. Now, with the corn flour, if I just allow the corn flour to rest, it turns into a liquid, as you can see. It slowly falls off my spoon, like so. And if you look at it in the bowl, okay, if I just move the bowl around, it looks like a liquid. It almost looks a bit like I've left some ice cream in a bowl for too long and it's just melting and moving. Now, with it in this, if I just slowly push it around, you can see the liquid. Now, if I start doing this quickly, you can see that all of a sudden it starts to look a bit like a solid. It's weird. It's kind of starting to go solid again, and then if I relax it, it turns back into a liquid. Now, this can lead to almost endless amounts of fun with your children. Obviously, this video is about creating your own homemade paint, but you can have so much fun with corn flour alone. So to the naked eye, it looks liquid. If I do this, it looks like a solid. Now, I'm using a spoon, but obviously you can use your finger. So if I put my finger in it slowly, it's like a liquid. If I do it quickly, it's almost like sort of clay and rubber. And then if I let go of it, it turns into a funky liquid again. And then if I go quickly, it's all solid. So like I say, you can really play around with the texture of this stuff. And if you want to, you don't have to use this as a paint in your bathroom. You could just have a big plate of it with different colours, and you can just play around with creating it. Now, unlike the putty that I did a video on for you sort of a few days ago or a week ago, this stuff you can't just mould, because you'll see if I sort of turn this into like a ball, okay, as soon as I allow that ball to rest, it turns back into a liquid again. So you can't build stuff with this, because almost immediately, as soon as I have stopped, if I work with it like this, I can create a ball, as you can see, but as soon as I let go, it turns back into liquid again. If I move it and manage it again, it goes all solid. You can see it's a solid ball, and then I stop, and it turns liquid. So this is really nice stuff to play around with your children. And if you stop, it goes into a liquid. Just like so. So it's super fun to play with, but like I say, take this into the bathroom with them, make it a little bit more of a liquidy consistency, and then they can use it to paint on things, paint on the side of the bath, they can write on it. You could do alphabet games, number games, all sorts of stuff like this with them in the bath, and it's super fun to play with. And like I say, if you add a bit more cornstarch and corn flour, you can create this really funky liquid that goes solid when you work with it a lot. Just like so. Okay guys, so there we have it. That is today's video. You almost get two for the price of one. We've created some funky paint that you can use in your bathroom, and we've also had a little look at how corn flour responds to water, and how 1 minute it looks a bit like liquid, and the next minute it kind of acts a bit like a solid. Now, normally with these kind of sciencey videos, I will talk about the science behind what we've done, and I will very briefly. So most objects that you are familiar with, so something like your chair that you're sitting on, the table that you're working at, or water in a pot, or even shampoo in a bottle. we know and we expect that they're going to respond in a certain way. So unless I freeze it and I expose it to a certain temperature, we know that water is a liquid. It acts like a liquid, you can pour it, it moves, it can only be contained, it's a liquid. Equally, the table and chair I'm sitting at are solid. If they all of a sudden move or melt in a funky way, it wouldn't serve its purpose and my table and desk would be moving all over the place and it'd be really weird. These substances are called Newtonian, okay? They act in normal ways. Well, when you add corn flour to water, this is called non-Newtonian, alright? And it acts in a bizarre way. And it's all to do with the starch particles that are within the corn flour when you add it to water. Now, I'm not going to go any further because it can become quite confusing, but if you are interested in learning a little bit more, look it up online. You can find loads of articles. I found one on the internet myself here that gives me lots of information about it, and you can really learn about it. But non-Newtonian is what you want to research. If you're looking into it, that gives you the real science behind this reaction. And if you're super brave and you can see that it's a liquid, you could try turning it above your head. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. It is really good fun making those paints and being able to paint in the bath. You don't have to just use them in the bath. Obviously, if your children are a bit older, this can be some sort of like general fun play that you can do. You can get plates out if you want, and you can draw on plates instead of in your bathroom. But it's a fun activity. It's really cheap, and it's just a fun way of making paint, and you actually make the paint that you can then use to create pictures and all sorts of fun things like that. So yeah, anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel or you just enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. And if you've had a go at this, or you have different recipes that you think are equally as good, comment down below. I'd love to see them and I might give them a go myself. Right, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning back in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.